International Monetary Fund, and also key developments in the Nigerian economy. But let's begin with the World Economic Outlook revised forecast released by the International Monetary Fund. For the April 2020, first half of 2020 than anticipated. In 2020, some percentage points lower than in economies with distancing than anticipated hit. As surviving businesses ramp up for economies struggle because of how the pandemic is connected from shifts in underlying economic prospects. As the June 2020 Global Financial Stability Report (GFSR) updates discuss raising the possibility that financial conditions may tighten more than assumed in the baseline. All countries are adequately resourced, the IMF says. The international community must vastly step up its support of national initiatives in production as trials advance, so that where lockdowns are required, the IMF says, economic sizable, well-targeted measures as well as warned as the recovery gets underway. 21. In the euro area, Europe's largest economy, Germany, projected to grow at -7.8% in 2020, will now grow at 6.0% in the year 2021. France, projected to grow at -12.5% in 2020, will grow at 7.3% in 2021. Italy, which has been also adversely affected by the COVID-19 pandemic, will grow at -12.8% in 2020, but is projected to grow at 6.3% in 2021. Spain will grow at -12.8% in 2020, but in 2021 rebounds with a 6% growth by a forecast of projection for the year 2021. The UK by 4.9%, tracked by projections 2% in 2021, will grow at 3.1%. Nigeria, Sub-Saharan Africa's largest economy, is going to grow at -5.4%. That was the revised one for 2020, but now is projected to grow at 2.6% in 2021. South Africa, the second largest economy in Sub-Saharan Africa, will grow at -8.0% in 2020 and is projected to grow at 3.5% in 2021. You can get all these insights, analysis. Log on to our website, www.prochange.com, to look at the World Economic Outlook reports analysis. Now let's get on to an interesting story. Power is a very important infrastructure in Nigeria, and the World Bank Board of Directors have approved the power sector recovery operation worth $750 million in the International Development Association credits to improve the reliability of electricity supply, achieve financial and fiscal sustainability, and enhance accountability in the power sector in Nigeria. That has become very important because, as you know, about 47% of Nigerians do not have access to grid electricity. And those who do have access face regular power cuts. In addition, the economic cost of power shortage in Nigeria is estimated at about $28 billion, equivalent to 2% of the gross domestic product of the nation. Very revealing. Getting access to electricity ranks as one of the major constraints for the private sector, according to the 2020 Doing Business report in Nigeria. Hence, improving power sector performance, particularly in the non-oil sector of manufacturing and services, will be central to unlocking economic growth post-COVID-19 pandemic. In the analysis, the lack of reliable power has stifled economic activity and private investments and job creation. World Bank's country director on a fiscally sustainable path. This is particularly urgent at a time when the government of Nigeria needs all the fiscal resources it can marshal toward the implementation of the government's past financial viability, improve service delivery, and reduce its fiscal burden. The PSRO is expected to increase annual elections and protecting the poor from the impacts of tariff adjustments. This will enable the turnaround of power sector while helping the federal government to redirect large fiscal crisis-responsive and pro-poor expenditure. It will also increase public awareness about ongoing power sector reforms and performance, and expectedly infrastructure very key in the economy. It's not just about the federal government, but state governments, what they do and how they carry out their policies, and the indicators are very key. And from the stable of Pro-Ocean, Nigeria's leading financial information hub, the recent Chronomics report looks at states' activities and how they are carrying out development and their indicators and implications going forward. Let's begin with Lagos. Lagos is Nigeria's economic capital. It's right at the center of excellence. It's even the economic hub of West Africa. Lagos has a population of over 18 million people. And Lagos State's economy is service-driven. That's a very key note. Service-driven economy. Services sectors thrive more in Lagos. Economic activities in the state can be classified in an unconventional manner of a night economy. For those who live in Lagos, they understand the nightlife and activities in Lagos, though it's been affected by the COVID pandemic. The marine economy, driven by oil and gas servicing and other activities in the marine space. The service economy and the faith-based economy. Faith-based covers different faiths and the fact that it also has huge activities there. Lagos State derives the majority of its revenue from sub-national taxes. Now note, for those that follow reports and analysis, that Lagos State is the highest internally generated revenue earner in the country. About 30 billion naira comes to the coffers of Lagos monthly. The biggest piece of that state's revenue pie is its payee, which is known as pay-as-you-earn tax. Let's get to the night economy. Lagos is an amalgam of activities stitched together in the kaleidoscope of contrast. The complex nature of its economy represents both a weakness and a strength. The strength derives from reinforcing revenue streams from activities ranging from commerce and trade to finance and manufacturing and information communications and technology. But in this mix, the state loses tons of money from underexploiting the potentials of its silent but massive night economy. The state could potentially run a 24-hour economic cycle that will perhaps double its annual internally generated revenue to about 798 billion naira from its 2019 figure of just under 400 billion naira. To move the night economy forward, some steps need to be taken, and this is very important for our policymakers. First is to improve around-the-clock security. If you live in Lagos, security remains very important, particularly to the night hour. The state must install 24-hour surveillance CCTV cameras in all areas of business concentration, starting from Ikeja, the state capital. We know that from parts around the government business district in Alausa and several parts of Lagos have CCTV, but we need a comprehensive spread of this. The state's neighborhood watch patrol, in collaboration with the Nigerian police, can provide security coverage for night trading activity, with Ikeja used as a pilot project. That's a very interesting thing to take note, security. Now let's go to waste management. And we have the Lagos State Waste Management Agency, which needs to be retooled and reorganized. The state's environmental sanitation body should have a night squad, not just during the day, but a night squad, responsible for cleaning up trading centers at night. The night team will go around markets and clear refuse after certain schedules have been agreed with the market associations. That is very important to keep the environment clean. Note, like I said earlier, we have over 18 million people, so you can imagine the tons of waste. Cinemas and shopping malls should be allowed to run night schedules. Well, for now, we have the COVID-19 pandemic, but when we gradually reopen the economies of Lagos, particularly, then this will be a very big consideration. Cinemas and shopping malls should be given special protection at night, very important security, with at least 2 neighborhood watch and police squad cars attached to each location. CCTV cameras should be located around each premise with 24-hour surveillance. Very interesting. Lagos is called the land of aquatic splendor, but where is its night fish market? Well, Lagos needs to leverage its marine status by building a night fish market. That will set the space because we know that various parts of the country have aquatic opportunities to build night fish market. Lagos can set the example that will eventually be continentally renowned for the quality of its fish, and the aquatic design of its infrastructure would include a sushi bar, for those of you that know about continental activities, and bukas, which sell fish pepper soup, amongst other fish delicacies. For those of you that tasted fish pepper soup, it's very sweet, and this can happen during the night economy. Now, how does the state finance the building of that market? This is a very interesting thing to note. With April 2020 federal bond issues being oversubscribed by 459%, the domestic capital market is sufficiently liquid to meet such aspirations. So we again key in the markets. We can leverage the markets to achieve that. And Lagos is one state that can leverage the market because it has sustainable IGR. Now let's look at the marine economy. The other side of Lagos that disappears into a sinkhole of political talk with little action is its marine economy. Lagos State is essentially a collection of small islands, but so far successive governments of the state have not been able to leverage its riverine nature to upscale its internally generated revenue and the state's GDP per capita. The last best effort at developing commercial water transportation in the state was during the government of former Governor Lateef Jakande between 1979 and 1983. For those of you that were around then and would know what happened, for those of us were just little then. The second next attempt was under the administration of Governor Babatunde Raji Fashola between 2007 and 2015. The Fashola marine transport effort that took life in its second term between 2011 and 2015, the project got stumped as a result of weak follow-through. Lagos State's marine economy is critical to its post-COVID-19 future for the following reasons. Now let's look at the reasons. Water transportation would decongest the number of people that use bus services, thereby reducing vehicle congestion and interpersonal physical contact. Water transportation would also reduce the time it takes workers, traders, and other individuals to get to different locations, especially between Ikorodu, Ekpe, Badagry, Lagos Island, and mainland. And that's very true. For those that stay in Ikorodu, a lot of them that work on the island agree that using marine is very good, but the safety of the waterways and the safety of the boats that are used is very important. The marine economy also builds on the state's economy's fishing ports, spread from Badagry to Ikorodu and Ekpe and the island. The ports could be upgraded to mini fish markets with fish processing facilities and financing options that provide microcredits, micro-insurance, and micro-leasing. The state's various seashores are well known for their crabs, shrimps, and prawns, and so its seafood economy could be supported to generate at least 3 times its current earnings. With seafood clusters constructed across the state with 24-hour security and power, this part of the state's marine life could ride a wave of double-digit growth within 12 months. The clusters will be COVID-19 compliant by ensuring the required codes of cleanliness and physical distancing. Indeed, the digital tech applications could be used to order fish or other seafoods, while live streaming of market prices and quantity of fish types could enable fish buyers to experience new types of digital-based commercial transactions using mobile phones and apps, as we've seen in this age. Digital TVs like WebTV could cover markets across the states and give buyers and sellers opportunities for continuous daily engagement by remote interaction. A very interesting insight from the economics report. The state's marine economy should tie into a medium-term energy strategy where its water resources also serves as a means of energy generation to supply industrial clusters across the state with at least 10 megawatts of light per cluster. This will improve business activity, reduce the cost of doing business in the state, and increase the state's GDP and IGR. Very interesting insights on leveraging the marine economy. Let's look at the service economy. Lagos State is the financial hub of Nigeria. That is not something that we'll debate, it's a fact. Just as London is the business epicenter of the United Kingdom, New York is the financial hub of the United States of America. Lagos shares the blessings and curses of both cities. In the light of complexities of major businesses hubs globally, the Lagos State government needs to transition into a more efficient ecosystem to ensure that service delivery excellence is provided to support expanding private enterprise. Some key D2C service delivery platform that makes the interaction between enterprises and citizens less cumbersome. Business and citizens should be able to process documents and get approvals digitally rather than engage in physical interfaces with public officers. And of course, post-COVID-19 brings that imperative. Public governance protocols must be elevated to ensure that transparency is elevated in the state to a routine rather than a hit-and-miss occasional achievement of execution. The transparency question, once resolved, should lead to public service efficiency and effectiveness. In post-COVID-19 reality, obscurity is a foe rather than a friend, as investable funds will flow to markets that are cost competitive, yield superior, and governance transparency. The debacle that happened with the Lagos State government municipality bond issue, if you've not read that story, you need to read it. It was much followed. Should not be allowed to repeat itself. Very important. There is also need to support a 24-hour economy agenda. A 24-hour public service must also be in place to provide the regulatory and operational public service support needed to drive an economy without boundaries. Time should be a resource, not a constraint. A Lagos that defies time limitations will rapidly ramp up GDP and IGR, thereby improving the standard of living of state households. Now let's go to the faith-based side. After Ogun State, you can check that. After Ogun State, Lagos State may have the largest faith-based economy with large Christian and Muslim congregants. This allows for the state to collaborate with faith-based institutions to improve the well-being of state households through faith-public partnerships or faith and public projects. The FPP model, this is very interesting. The FPP model integrates faith-based resources into providing services to societies most vulnerable, enabling the government to partner churches and mosques in schemes that can help congregants grow micro businesses, access micro-insurance, and leverage micro-mortgages, while also providing improved protection to the socially vulnerable people such as aged and the physically and mentally challenged. The state, with faith-based partnerships, can build purpose-fit facilities where these individuals can get help and live meaningful lives rather than depend on informal structures that could be dangerous or simply unsustainable. The various types of economies of Lagos will require or contribute to robust state revenues and expect efficient cost management. And let's look at Lagos state revenue. Very, very important conversation. The state's local total revenue grew by 3.07% in 2019, leveraging its night and marine economy alone. And the state could triple this growth rate in 18 months. Its total revenue in 2019 was 516.62 billion naira from 501.21 billion naira in 2018. Its total IGR was 77.18% of total revenue, while its Federal Account Allocation Committee was 22.82% of total revenue. A firmer harnessing of state resources and a realignment of its strategy could see its IGR rise to 97% of total revenue and FAC fall to about 3% of the state's total earnings. And when you look at this analysis, it's very important. For Lagos State IGR, in understanding the state's current revenue structure, it's noteworthy to realize that the state's major source of internally generated revenue is its payee, which accounts for about 68% of the state's IGR. While revenue generated from other taxes as well as MDAs, that's ministries, department, and agencies, accounts for 16% and 10% of the IGR respectively. The state is in position, well placed for a post-COVID-19 world. It must rethink its IGR composition by reducing payee to roughly 30% of IGR and increasing the proportion of IGR from taxes, levies, fines, and fees to about 70% of state's IGR. Another interesting part is the Lagos external debt. It declined to $1.4 billion in December 2019 from $1.43 billion in December 2018. The fall in the debt may be considered desirable, but it still leaves the state with a major foreign exchange exposure. The fact that most of the state's revenue is naira denominated, the large foreign debt exposure threatens the state's fiscal balance with foreign exchange translation risk and could result in a downgrade of its credit rating and a rise in its cost of finance. Very interesting insights from Lagos State's finance and economic sustainability. Let's take a short break, And when we return, we'll bring some more updates as we round up.
Going forward, we are committed to moving away from the blunt and expensive fiscal incentives like import duty waivers, lengthy tax holidays that reward investors merely for an intention to invest. Rather, we will design and implement targeted and more efficient fiscal incentives that reward investors after they have kept their promises to invest, after they have created jobs, after they have deepened our capital market, and also after they have abided by the applicable rules and regulations. Our fiscal reforms will increasingly complement our trade and monetary policies. We have made tremendous progress in the effort to create a conducive business environment for all investors. Our target is to move Nigeria to the top 100 on the 2020 World Bank Ease of Doing Business rankings. It is our expectation that these measures that we have taken will actually spur industry, will improve the business environment, will enhance innovation, and also will enable more investment in our people. Industrialization in several aspects, including light manufacturing, agricultural processing, petrochemicals, as well as construction sectors. We seek in the Nigerian Stock Exchange. In closing, I want to invite the private sector, development programs and projects succeed in unlocking the latent potential of our people and order the economic recovery and growth plan and the successor plan that is work in progress.
Products importation. The statistics for the first quarter of 2020 reflected that 5.26 billion liters of premium motor spirit, PMS, 258.27 million low power fuel oil, LPFO, and 135.14 million liters of liquefied petroleum gas were imported. Volume for full automotive gas, 8.73 million liters of household kerosene, 283.90 million liters of aviation turbine kerosene, 23.36 million liters of low-power fuel oil, and 290.24 million of liquefied petroleum gas were distributed nationwide during the period under review across the country. Well, very interesting times, and we would continue the conversations on economy, policy, investments, and politics too. Always join us every 9 a.m. for that. And that'll be all for this edition of the Economy and Politics Show. Join our website, www.proshareng.com, to watch our videos, read our news reports and analysis. I mean, what we've read today about the chrononomics discourse on states, you can just, don't forget, 10 a.m., the market. For watching, have a nice time, and stay safe.